ain't nothing like a funky beat.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another exciting Guapish at the Disco album review. As always, I am hosting this. We've got the 2017 album by Australian progressive metal band Obliviscaris today, that being the album Earn. Very exciting. And of course, as always, I've got Tanichi and Tanner as my co-DJs.
Oh yeah, I fucking love really long songs.
Do you want to talk about it first, Tanner? Well, I guess let me give a short synopsis on this. This is a progressive metal album by Australian band Obliviscaris. All right, go for it, Tanner.
Yeah, you know, it's, I can't say I've really listened to this kind of music before, so it was pretty interesting. We've got a 45-minute album here with 6 songs in it, so...
Basically 4.
Yeah, basically 4. That's pretty funny to me, I'd say. I honestly didn't like this album as much as I thought I would have. I'd say most of these songs were average to a little above average for me. And I think my biggest problem with getting into the album was, like, I could understand what was being said in the lyrics, but I didn't get, like, what it was saying, you know? I could understand the specific words, but I'm like, but, like, what does this mean, you know? And I looked that stuff up and whatever, and it just kind of seems like the lyrics are meant to be more pictographic, if you will. It's meant to paint an image and not so much like tell a specific story or send a specific message, which I don't really fuck with very much. But aside from that, I enjoyed, like, the instrumentation, and I definitely do prefer more concise songs, we'll say, but I wasn't put off too much by the length of the songs. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. I'm gonna go take a massive shit now. Have fun, guys.
Awesome. Tanichi,
Is
please.
he fucking serious? You can do that?
Please don't. This is an emergency situation. He's got shit coming out his ass right now.
You can just turn the podcast into a fucking duo thing? What are we doing?
Dude, I'm listening to you give your general thoughts on the album, of course.
Fuck that fucking loser. I thought this album was good. I thought this album was great, even. Dare I say, I thought this album did very little wrong. I understand what Tanner says, but I don't think it detracts from the music. But I think that's because I listen to rap. A lot of rap has transitioned into, it doesn't really matter what he's saying, he's just saying shit. You know what I mean? So I've come to terms with that style of music. So hearing it in other mediums is not that, like, crazy. I could get into these songs because of just how thematic they were as pieces of music. And I fucked with all of them. I do think it's funny that this is basically fucking 4 songs.
That shit's awesome.
I do think it's funny.
Minutes.
Yeah, I do think it's funny. I don't think it detracts from the album. Although I will admit, I don't particularly find myself going back to like I won't listen to part 2 without listening to part 1. So it seems kind of weird to separate the two. But then you look at the views of the first song on Spotify, and then I'm like, okay, well, people clearly like the first part of this song more than they like the second part of this song. And then I listen back to it, and again, it's so thematic that although it's one thing, it is kind of like different. So I really appreciate it. Like, I really appreciate how he stuck to like, not that narrative, but that sound, like that, like the building and the expansion throughout the track and how it changed. He stuck through it, even though like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if as an artist he put this out and was like, this is perfect, or if he was like, damn, I'm giving these guys 4 songs on this album, I should split this up and make it seem better.
I think the reason they're split up, at least from my interpretation, just with how, you know, other songs similar to this, With like Libera, for example, I think the reason is like the first part is much more of like the main story, and then part 2 is kind of just like the epilogue. Like you don't need to listen to part 2 to have fun with part 1. I think it ends pretty concisely, but then if you want to have that like kind of, it's like kind of like a cool down. Like honestly, like it's like going on a run and then doing like a little cool down walk afterwards. It's kind of what it's like with Libera, which that kind of makes sense. And normally you wouldn't go and fucking do the cooldown and not the run. So I don't think they're supposed to be listened to separately. I think it's mostly just like, if anything, it just kind of helps when you're just adding like one of them to your playlist, for example. I wish they had like a version where they're combined so you can like get the vibes in general. But like some people just want to listen to the like fast action-paced, action-packed sound and not the fucking 3 minutes of like a quiet violin playing. And then Earn, definitely I think the parts stand a bit more on their own in those two. Like they have connecting threads between the two, but they definitely sound more like separate songs than something like Libera, where it's very clear like this one's a part 1 and the epilogue to it. So I definitely understand. I agree. I understand Earn being separated, but I understand both of them being separated. I think it's fine.
I agree.
I interrupted you. Do you have anything else to say about your overall thoughts?
No, I really like this. When I was doing, I guess just to talk, when I was doing research on this album, there was a lot of comparisons to, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of the band because I'm fucking stoned. There were a lot of comparisons to Opeth and
some other fucker.
Yeah, hold on, because you're gonna cut this part. I'm just gonna look it up. Coheed and Cambria. I can't believe I fucking forgot this band's name. It's one of my favorites. It was a lot of comparisons to Coheed and Cambria, and that's the only place where my gripe comes in. Because no. Although Coheed and Cambria definitely has the same like vibe and aesthetic in their albums, where they go on this dynamic journey and it's this deep interlogue story. They're way more creative with it than this band, and maybe it's I've only heard this part and I'm talking out of my ass, but the like I think when people say this, they don't actually understand like Coheed and just these fucking albums are like universes like within each other. Like there's like their whole discography is this story. Like no, Coheed and Cambria is so unique. I fucking love this band. Not their whole discography, obviously, but a lot of their famous tracks and some of their not so famous tracks are like standouts when they don't go on these story runs.
I'm excited for you to pick one of their albums. I've never heard one of their songs before.
Really? I'm gonna pick one of their albums, but I'm not gonna pick one of their story albums because I think if you go in order, they're awesome. All of them except the Unheavenly Creatures, because I think it's a side plot to the main story, and the side plot itself is a universe, and it's a fucking pretty cool love tale, and it's awesome, and it's fucking rock, and it's crazy. I think it's fucking great. My only issue is it's 15 fucking songs. It's my only issue. It's 15 songs. It's a lot of listening.
That's like 4 times the amount of songs in this album.
Yeah, and that's what I give this, and that's where I give this album like a plus. I got a Coheed and Cambria vibe that was like a small sample of it. That was like not an imitation, but it was like, I don't know how to describe it. Like it was a completely different style and culture. You know what I mean? It was the same piece of music, the same the same structure, the same story, just told by 2 different people, told by 2 different cultures. And it was really interesting, really awesome to listen to that album and then go back and listen to some Coheed. I love this fucking album. Pretty good album.
Definitely closer to you than I am to Tanner here on opinions. I think this album's fucking awesome. If anything, like a lot of these albums, I've rated 2 or 3 of them like an 8. This is like the only album I've listened to that I would like genuinely say this is like some art. The instrumentation is so well done and consistent throughout the entirety of it. It's it's just some beautiful shit, man. The violin just accents the everything else, the discordance of it all really well. The guitar is
Great
fucking
verbiage.
yeah, the guitar just has really, really good chops. The fucking drummer is insane as well. Just the stamina of being able to keep up that blast beat for so fucking long is insanely impressive. The vocalists too do a great job. I really like the main vocalist. He almost has like a power metal kind of sound to his voice, but he also has like a lot of emotion based on it too. And the fucking growler, I'm not crazy into growling, but I think this album's a lot more subtle with it. I would say it's more listenable, generally speaking. I can also understand the guy saying every once in a while. Like one of my favorite parts of this album specifically is in Libera, in the second half after they do like the big crescendo midpoint with the violins, and the guy just says, "No more chances. We need to." I fucking love that. That shit is so sick. I'm such a big fan of it.
I actually don't mind the growling. Not that I'm a huge fan, but I've heard worse. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard way fucking worse. So like when it's done tastefully, it's really cool.
I would say probably my only negatives is I've listened to some of their previous albums before. I was kind of like 50-50 on if I wanted to pick this one or one of their longer ones, but I chose the shorter one just for like it being a better intro potentially. This one definitely feels a little derivative of some of their previous works. I assume that's probably intentional, like it's almost like a motif kind of thing, because they're definitely just like some fucking, I don't know what the word is, measures that are basically the exact same thing from songs I've heard previously. So it isn't a downside. I think they're fucking cool, and I like that they're using them again because I like listening to that sound. And then unfortunately, some of these songs do struggle a little bit in the midsection. Like I think songs like Libera hold it really well. It feels like it's like this big grandiose trip you're going on throughout the entirety of it. But then some songs like a little bit into like Earn Part 2, it feels like it like kind of loses itself on like what it's trying to do. A little bit with Intravenous as well. But generally speaking, I think all these songs are very consistent, and I listen to a lot of them all the fucking time. And I guess I'll just kick us off with the favorites and least favorites of this album. I would say Intravenous is probably my least favorite. I wasn't crazy on this one. I think the first half of it before it gets to like that midpoint where it goes into like and then cuts over into like the cool sounding guitar is just kind of whatever. I'm not like crazy about it, but I definitely like the second half of that song a lot more. And my favorite is absolutely Libera. That is the song that got me into this album. That's what I discovered this band from, and I still think it goes insanely hard. I listen to that song all the fucking time. I just love like the buildup of emotion, and then once you get to that midpoint with the violins, it just goes into that like chorus with all of them fucking singing in unison. That shit is so fucking sick. It's just super cool. And I shout out to Eerie as well. I'm a really big fan of that song too. Huge fan. The intro of that is such a fucking vibe. And then when they get more heavier on the instrumentals, and then they go right into like using the same sounds from the slower part, it's just fucking sweet, man. I would definitely say that Eerie and Libera are very close for me. And Tanner, Mr. Chowin the fuck down. How about you? Favorite, least favorite? There's only 4 songs, so not much to choose from here.
I mean, if we're not including the transition songs,
I mean, you can if you want to. If you want to say like you didn't like fucking Earn Part 2.
I mean, yeah, my least favorite was like Libera Part 2, just because like it's the one that has the least going on with it. So
yeah, that one's like more of like an epilogue of Libera Part 1. Like you're supposed to listen to it. It's like I gave this analogy when you were gone, but it's kind of like Libera Part 1 is like you taking a run, and then Part 2 is like the cool down.
Right. Yeah, but not anything necessarily against it, but like just kind of by its design, there's less for you to grab onto. So that one's pretty easily my least favorite. I think my favorite is going to be Earn Part 1, mostly because that's the fastest one on the album, and so it appeals the most to my sort of already established preference for metal music, you know?
When are you picking a speed metal album, dude? When's it happening?
That's it, guys. We're listening to fucking Slayer.
Hell yeah. I gotta pick a speedcore album one of these days.
A Nightcore album?
I don't know any Nightcore albums. I know plenty of Speedcore, though.
Okay.
Anywho, Tanichi, Pensive?
Oh, I did not have a least favorite song. I like all of the songs on this album. I think they're all cool. I do have a favorite song. My favorite song is Eerie, specifically at 6 minutes and 20 seconds in. The vocalist performs, I don't even know specifically what he says. It doesn't fucking matter. But whatever the line is, the line before he's singing loudly on an inhale, and he's singing softly on an exhale in a very reminiscent style. It sounds so much like Deftones that it's my favorite song. I'm
glad you mentioned that, because literally Tanichi and I listened to this album, for context for the viewers. We did our first listen through together, and I got to that part and I was like, yeah, this just sounds like Deftones. It has a very similar vocal delivery.
I was crashing out because I didn't want to say it, because I previously mentioned in the Deftones album how they're so influential that everyone kind of has a Deftones moment in one of their albums. and I heard one again. I fucking love that band. I love that moment. I love that fucking moment. It's a really good moment too, because the intro is like a minute and 30 seconds of just fucking amazing violin. We get like snippets of violin, but that minute is like the violin's moment to fucking shine, and they cook. I fuck with it. I fuck with that whole song. I added this entire album. I downloaded this entire album to listen to on Spotify, but I specifically added Eerie to my playlist.
Bass. Yeah, I fucking love Eerie, and I love the dichotomy you get with Eerie and then going into Earn as well, just because like the violin is so subtle and soft and like soothing and kind of almost like creepy at times in Eerie, and then you go into Earn and it's such a different vibe. Like the violinist in that one, it's like it sounds like discordance, but like of their own like intention, it sounds unnerving and like creepy. It's just super fucking cool. Like one of the biggest pluses for this whole album is just like the range that all of the instrumentals and the vocalists have. Like there's just everybody in this band has insane chops, and they prove it constantly, because this whole fucking album is just very well produced for the most part. And I want to see them live. It's been a while since I've listened to an album and I've been like, yeah, I want to see these fuckers live. And it doesn't help too, like whenever I read the comments on some of their videos, everyone's like, yeah, I saw them live. They're fucking awesome. They're like, the exact same level as their studio production, but like live, so it's awesome. I want to see them one of these fucking days. I'm genuinely looking at their tour schedule. I think it'd be sweet. Tanner, I'm curious, you specifically like separated the part ones and part twos. How does your like and dislike change if you're assuming that they're together? Like Libera as a whole, Earn as a whole?
I'm gonna be honest, I never even considered just treating them as one, so I really couldn't tell you.
Fair enough, I suppose.
It mostly just goes like, man, this really long song is now even really longer.
The 7-minute song is now 14 minutes long.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm a huge fan of long songs. I am massive fan. Like, some of my favorite songs are really fucking long. Like, my favorite song of the UFO album, guess what? It was the, 8-minute long one. I just really like big set piece feeling tracks. I like getting immersed in something super cool. Like, trance, for example. I really like trance electronic. And it's mostly just, because you just get caught up in the vibes of it, It just feels like you're part of it at a point, especially if you're just doing nothing but listening to that. It's just a cool experience, and I'm a big fan of songs to do that, and this whole album is basically that. And unsurprisingly, the shortest song in the album is the one that I wasn't the biggest fan of. I don't think that's necessarily related to it being the shortest, but that's just what it is. And I definitely like listening to it. I love long songs. You guys should know that by now, though. Fucking the ICDD album, that shit was long as fuck too. And I'm a big fan of their long-ass songs, like Uta. I'm pretty sure that one's 9 minutes long or something. That was my favorite song of that album and one of my favorite metal songs of all time. So this should come as no surprise. It's not a detractor to me at all. If anything, the longer a song is and the more consistent it can get with that runtime, the better. Like, I'm totally down to listen to a 15-minute long track if it's consistent throughout the entire thing. Like, it has to be long with a purpose, you know?
I agree. That's probably why I don't like soundtracks.
Personally, I'm much more of like a short song guy, so I'm pretty much the opposite of you. Like, I love punk music, so...
Yeah, I'm not a crazy big fan of shorter songs. I definitely normally, like, my favorite songs are always around, like, the 5-minute plus mark, generally speaking.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so different from you there. We'll hit, like, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes on a song, and I'll be like, okay, guys.
What the
really
fuck are we?
This much to say.
You can split this shit up. And then you look at the band and they only have 2 good songs, and you're like, come on, man.
Right. I wonder if there's like referencing our Guapish at the movies reviews. I wonder if there's emerging a difference in how you and I rate movies based on their length. Like, do I give more credit to shorter movies and you give more credit to longer ones?
That would be an interesting stat to think about. Unfortunately, that would mean I have to retroactively look up the length of every single one of, like, the 400 movies we've watched to get that statistic, and I don't want to fucking do that.
Didn't I do that? I feel like I recall myself making an Excel spreadsheet of that data.
Is that the Excel you shared on the black quiz?
I can't remember. I also sometimes make spreadsheets in my dreams, so who knows?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. But I will say, like, if a movie is like an hour 45 or shorter, I'm like, oh man, this is a B minimum.
That's funny. I think it's really all just about, like, the pacing and, like, what they do with their runtime. I think it's really just about, like, if they use their content well. Like, you know, if it feels justified. I feel like a lot of these songs feel justified in their length, and it's similar to a lot of good movies I've seen where, you know, it doesn't... Like, if the movie has, like, a significant lull, or there's lots of parts that are just, like, long establishing shots constantly, and it just feels like it's wasting your time, I'm definitely not a big fan of that. It's, like, the longer you get, the harder it is, I would say, to make it still sound good. And I think this album does a good job of not teetering across that edge. I feel like it feels justified for the most part. I definitely could understand why somebody wouldn't like the length of some of these songs, even though it doesn't really sound like much of us are, like, super opposed to the length of it, generally speaking. I guess this is more just like talking to somebody that's not in the call with us. Like Eerie, for example, I think you kind of, like, there's a couple of times where you feel like the song would probably end, and then it just keeps going. And personally, I fuck with it because it's just more of some shit that I already like listening to. There's no downside there. But I can definitely see people that are like, okay, it feels like it should have ended there, and it's still going, so that's weird, and they don't like it. But, you know, it's all just preference at the end of the day, I suppose. Anywho, any final closing thoughts here, boys?
I tried to figure out which Deftones song while you guys were talking that particular spot sounded as similar to, and I thought it was going to be Knife Talk or Knife Party.
Knife Party? That's really funny.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking in my head, it sounds like fucking Knife Party. It sounds like the delivery of him saying, like, sweet, you know, like that, like, slow slurred kind of voice he does.
Listen to the beginning of one of their most popular songs on my own summer, Shove It, and it sounds like his first delivering song. I then was looking at the lyrics, and this song that was made in 1997, Deftones coins the term "big mood."
And that's a big mood, baby.
That's it. Yeah.
Anywho, per usual, I guess, let's start bottom to top here. I assume, Tanner, you're going to give it like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 here. What are you thinking?
Dude, I am in fact at a 6 out of 10.
That's crazy. I don't know who between Tanichi and I is going to rate it higher. So I guess, Tanichi, what are you thinking of it?
I give this, I thought it was a good 8.
A good 8, okay. Personally, I gave this one a 9. I am a huge fan of this. I definitely think this is the best album we've listened to so far. I think it's very consistent with its instrumentals, and I find very little flaw with it outside of the minor ones that I had mentioned previously, like some of the mid-sections feeling a little bit lost with their purpose and it being a bit derivative. But generally speaking, I can jam out hard as fuck to every single one of these songs. I I am super high on all of them. Like Libera is fucking awesome. Eerie is fucking awesome. I love the variety and some insanely cool, interesting riffs that I hear in Urn. Intravenous 2 is still a great song. Big fan of it. It's definitely not like a super standout one for me, but it's still a fucking awesome song. And yeah, this definitely one of my favorites we've listened to so far. I'd like to listen to a metal album that I think is better than this. I'm excited for that day. And I think, yeah, that is our highest rated album yet. Claps for Ne Obliviscaris. It landed at a 7.7 out of 10. Still very harsh critics here. We haven't even gotten to an 8 out of 10.
I'm trying to decide if I think this is better than Odyssey.
I think Odyssey is cool, but like it's not as consistent, you know? Like it's got some songs.
And I think that's why I think this is better than it.
When did you rate Odyssey a 7?
Yeah. And I think this is why I think this is better. Is because of the consistency.
Yeah, Odyssey had some minor like this namesake for the album Odyssey. It had some like more experimental instrumental tracks and some not as strong like vocal ones. This one is much more like, if you like Libera, you're probably gonna like the entire album. And Libera is a really good fucking song, so it's pretty representative of if you're gonna enjoy the entire album. So that makes sense. Anywho, Tanner, it is in fact your turn to pick an album. What are we going to be listening to?
Holy cow. So, guys, this week we listened to a bit more of an artsy-fartsy album, something a bit more, musically talented, let's say. Something
didn't even fucking review it.
You're really meant to think about and whatever. And so I'm going to choose an album that goes in the opposite direction. I'm choosing some party music. And so we're going to be listening to the 2001 album I Get Wet by Andrew WK.
Never heard of that guy. I'm excited.
I think there's a decent chance you'll recognize him once you see him.
I guess we'll have to find out, won't we?
Oh,
I will like the dichotomy of these two.
Oh, it is this fucking guy.
Anywho, if you guys want to listen to the review of that album that I just immediately forgot the name of, please tune in next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.